Hi, this is Marlene, astrologer extraordinaire, and the subject tonight is going to be kind of a heavy one, but it's going to be on predator behavior. What I'm going to be sharing with you is going to be about personal experiences. I can see already that my spirits are very active because I can see the white lights. I don't know if it's Yogananda. I have been a follower since 1987, I would only be so flattered if I knew that somebody at the level of Christ consciousness was actually floating around in my room. But as long as I've been doing these videos, if you look, oh my God, I just saw one right there. Did you see that? Holy moly. So I'm not going to cut that because I want that in there. But I did a few tests, and so they're here. I'm going to tie this all in to where I'm going because I'm going to tell you some personal stories that happened to me as a young teenager and even younger than that. The scene is Los Angeles, more accurately, the San Fernando Valley, the far northwestern corner of the valley, Chatsworth. I went to Lawrence Junior High, and I went to Chatsworth High School. Now, we lived in an apartment complex that actually was located right in between both of those schools. The subject matter is predatory behavior. The years are 1970 to 1974. So, as a young teenager, I have all these stories. I'm going to tell you one specific one today. But we had the boob man, we had the nylon man, and then we had various other characters that would pull up next to you as you were walking to school with a handful of books. Now, back then, we didn't have backpacks. A car begins to roll up, kind of coming behind you and slowly creeping up on you. Then what's this about? I'm very grateful for where I grew up because let me tell you, I have major radar for that kind of stuff. I got the training very early on. Back then, I have a recollection of somebody coming to my door when I was 8 years old and acting very nefariously. And we actually did have a break-in in our house when I was 12. My mother had just gotten a divorce from my dad and had been beginning to date again. And I had a younger sister, 10 years old. And back then, we did not lock our doors. Nobody on our block locked our doors. So let's fast forward to, I'm in junior high school. The year is 1970. I'm in the 9th grade now, just entering the 9th grade. My sister's just entering the 7th grade. She just got a locker. She just was in elementary school. So at least, it might vary from all over different parts of the country or different part of the world. But where we grew up after the 6th grade, then it wasn't called middle school, it was called junior high school. And for any of you out there from the SFV, San Fernando Valley, or grew up in Los Angeles, say hello in the comments. So this is Lawrence Junior High that I'm talking about. My sister she's all excited, she got her first locker. I forgot something out of my locker. She didn't forget anything in her locker. She's just excited, she just got her locker. She wants to go to her locker. So let's go to your locker. Will you go with me? Yeah, I'll go with you. It's late afternoon, and her and I are walking together through the dirt path. I noticed as we're going through the school, and where we entered on the south end of the school, and then there was this corridor, and it would slowly, graduate up and up as you got to the top end of the hallway, and we had to go to the top row. My locker was the very last row running this way. Around the corner at the end of that was her locker. So I said, let's go to my locker first because mine's closer. So we go to my locker, and as I'm in my locker opened that way. So I'm in there, but all of a sudden I look this way because I see a shadow coming out of my peripheral vision. So I look to the right and I see this man just coming up from the side of the outside corridor. And then he looks right at me and he starts to make a beeline for me. Like he made eye contact with me, and I thought, whoa, I felt the intention. So I see him start and I think, that's it. You know, I'm out of here, but exactly what's going on. I close my locker. I turn around. I start heading around the corner because I know my sister's still in her locker around the corner. So I go around the corner and I said, get your stuff. I said, it's time to move. She's looking at me and I said, don't say anything and don't look. Just keep walking. Keep walking straight. And she's still kind of like dilly-dallying a little bit. And I said, you need to walk faster. Don't look around you. Don't look. We're being followed. Keep walking. Keep walking all the way down, all the way down. So there's all these different corridors, 5, 6, 7 of them, something like that, before you get all the way down to the end, which is where basketball courts were, the PE section was, the gymnasium was. But as we're doing that, I can still see the peripheral vision on this side. Each time we passed a corridor, I could see a body, boom, a body running. And I thought, he's following. Okay, he's keeping time with us. So I look at my sister and I said, again, I don't look. I said, he's following us. And so I never looked. I never looked over. He didn't know that I was watching him. In my mind, I'm thinking, I know exactly where he is. We have to walk. When we get to the end, we're out of the corridors, and then there's the gymnasium, and then there was a roof over our head, but once you're out of the corridor, there's no more roof. It's all open air. There's the parking lot, and then across from that, we've got to go across that way to that open field and go through that open field, through the dirt field, and then on the other side of that is our apartment complex where we live. As we start to get down there, I thought, he is right on the other side of that wall. There's a bunch of shrubbery in there, and he's on the other side of that wall. I know he is. As we're getting down to the gymnasium, I see a couple gentlemen. They've got their boys with them. So their boys are on the basketball courts, and as we're nearing that area, I see a couple gentlemen. One of them has got his trunk open. You know, he's in there, he's fishing around for equipment or something. So I see him, I go right over to him. I said, excuse me, sir. My sister and I just came to our lockers. I said, there's a man over there. And I said, he's been following us. We live over that way. I said, you see across that field, we're all the way across that field. And on the other side of that is the apartment complex. And that's where we live. And I said, I want you to see this man. I said, the edge of this parking lot. And I said, I know he's on the other side of that wall. We got to that clearing where we reached that wall. I went and I pointed. There he is, right there. That's him. So there he was. He's up against the wall. You know, he's got his whole body up against the wall. I just pointed right at him. And I said, could you do me a favor and just stand right here? And I said, we're going to run the rest of the way home, but watch him. And then once we get past those buildings, he's not going to know where we're at. He looked and he thought, wow, you know, I could see his jaw drop. And he said, no problem. He goes, I'm going to stand right here. You girls run. That's just one example of many, but I wanted to share that with you because that was more than 50 years ago. So those of you people that think it's not that prevalent today, it's worse. How many people are hiding behind a camera, you can have the tiniest cameras placed anywhere. Their favorite places to lurk, of course, are schools. Elementary schools, junior high schools, high schools. I can't tell you how many times we, near accosted, and how many people are hiding behind a computer screen today because they think you can't see them, they can get away with it. If they had any kind of kahunas, real people don't do that kind of crap, You want to have a conversation with somebody, if there's something you want, you talk face to face. None of this behind the back crap. I'm not down for it. I'm pretty old school. So anyhow, I wanted to share that story with you. Bye.